Welcome to another story made by Oracle 1. Ashes of the Wind. Episode 1. The Girl Who Breathed Smoke. The wind over Bramble Hollow was always warm, even when the winter snows fell beyond the ridge. Chimneys lined the crooked roofs like jagged stone teeth, coughing black plumes into the sky until the clouds stained the color of bruises. People said the district lived on fire and would die by it. People also said the Thornbriar family had soot instead of blood running through their veins. Lyria Thornbriar, youngest sweep of the furnace quarter, had never known a life without ash beneath her fingernails. At age 16 she was wiry, fast, soot-streaked, and stubborn enough to make old chimney masters shake their heads. Every morning she strapped her tools across her back, tied her rope around her waist, and climbed the buildings long before the bakers lit their ovens. Her hands were calloused, her lungs strong, though she coughed more often than she used to. But everyone coughed in Bramble Hollow. It was simply the way things were. That particular morning began like any other. A soft drizzle dampened the rooftops, making the shingles slick. Lyria climbed anyway, toes finding purchase between gaps that felt familiar enough to walk blindfolded. Mr. Cobwall, her gray-haired employer, shouted up from below. "Be careful, girl, the soot's wet today. One slip and you'll fall straight into the baker's chimney." "I don't slip," Lyria called back, though she nearly did as she reached the ridge. She hid the stumble with a grin. "Besides, the baker's wife likes me better than you. That's the problem." Cobwall barked, but he sounded more amused than angry. Lyria pulled herself atop the next roof and crawled toward the largest chimney in the district, the old iron stack. It belonged to the glassworks factory, a towering furnace whose fires had burned for more than a century without cease. Smoke rolled constantly from the iron stack, even before dawn. Something about the place always unsettled Lyria, though she couldn't explain why. She tied her rope to the chimney brace, tested it twice, then lowered herself into the throat of the stack. The world narrowed to a tight cylindrical world of soot and heat. Darkness pressed on all sides. She steadied her breathing, wiped ash from her eyes, and began to scrub. Her brush scraped along the stone, loosening thick crusts of blackened soot that drifted downward like dead snow. She worked quickly, rhythmically, humming an off-tune melody she remembered from childhood. The heat increased as she descended, rising from the furnace chamber far below. Lyria had cleaned hundreds of chimneys, but there was something wrong about this one. The air felt alive. Not just warm, it pulsed, as if the heat had a heartbeat of its own. She paused, gripping the rope. "Cobwall?" she shouted upward. Her voice echoed strangely, bouncing back distorted. No answer. She descended a little farther, holding the rope in one hand while brushing with the other. The stone shimmered faintly under the soot, glowing an unnatural ember red before fading again. Lyria leaned closer, wiping at the surface. Under the soot, the stone was inscribed with faint spirals and runes. Her heart thumped louder. No chimney was carved with symbols. Something moved beneath her feet. A tremor. Then the air shuddered, rushing upward as a burst of heat exploded from below. The rope jolted violently. Lyria clung to it, choking on smoke. What in the... The tremor deepened into a low groan that reverberated through the chimney walls. Embers drifted upward like fireflies. Then the stone beneath her boots cracked, releasing a plume of blinding white fire. It hit her square in the chest. She didn't burn. She should have burned. Instead, the flame shot into her lungs with the force of a hammer, knocking the wind from her completely. She gasped, inhaling the impossible fire. It spiraled down her throat, scorching yet not scorching, searing yet not hurting. She felt something ancient sliding into her, like liquid fire threading through every part of her chest. Lyria screamed, or tried to. Smoke poured out instead. thick black smoke, as if her lungs had become a furnace. Her fingers lost their grip. She fell, but the fire inside her ignited, spreading through her body like molten breath. Heat roared in her veins. Her fall slowed, stopped, and she hovered in midair inside the chimney, suspended by something that felt like fiery hands made of wind. Below her, deep in the furnace chamber, she glimpsed something shifting. A shape, a figure, a spirit. Its body was a swirling mass of coals, smoke, and molten light. Not human, not entirely real, but undeniably alive. And furious. "Who awakens me?" Its voice rumbled inside her mind, hot enough to blister thought itself. I didn't mean to," she whispered, trembling. "I was just sweeping. Your breath carries my spark. You have taken my slumber. You have taken me. I didn't take anything. You inhaled my essence. My flame is inside you. Now we are bound. Bound." The word echoed inside her skull, heavy as a chain. Before she could respond, the spirit surged upward, its molten form exploding through her like a storm of heat. The chimney shook. Cracks split the stone. Lyria was thrown upward out of the stack, landing hard on the rooftop. She coughed violently, exhaling bursts of smoke with each breath. Cobwall rushed toward her, shouting, "Lyria, what happened?" The stack, the whole thing just. He stopped. His eyes widened in terror. Smoke coiled from Lyria's mouth. Not thin wisps, thick, roiling black clouds that moved as if alive. Her eyes reflected ember light. "Stay back," she rasped, clutching her chest. "Something's wrong." As if on cue, the iron stack erupted. A column of red flame shot skyward, splitting the chimney in half. Villagers screamed. Windows shattered. Sparks rained like burning snow across the district. Cobwall grabbed Lyria's arm. "We need to run." But Lyria's legs buckled as another wave of heat tore through her chest. She fell to her knees, clawing at the ground. The fire inside her felt wild, hungry, impossible to contain. Voices yelled around her. Footsteps pounded. Someone shouted for water, for healers, for the fire wardens. Lyria barely heard them. Every breath she took sent another plume of smoke spiraling outward like a startled animal. Her chest felt as if a furnace had replaced her heart. She squeezed her eyes shut, trying to force the heat down, to breathe normally. Her next exhale ignited the rooftop. People screamed and scattered as a sheet of fire rolled across the shingles. Cobwall pulled her upright, but she flinched away. "Don't, I'll burn you." "Girl, you're burning everything." The fire wardens arrived within minutes. Tall figures clad in soot-black armor marked with glowing ember sigils. They carried hooked spears and shields shaped like furnace doors. Their leader, Warden Havrin, pushed through the crowd. "Which one holds the fire?" he barked. Lyria tried to speak, but only smoke poured from her mouth. Havrin's eyes narrowed. "Contain her." Two wardens advanced, chains glowing with heat as if forged from living flame. "No," Cobwall shouted. "She's just a girl. She breathes fire," Havrin replied coldly. "She is no girl, she is a threat." The wardens lunged. Instinct, not thought, drove Lyria's response. She inhaled sharply, dragging the smoke back into her lungs. Heat built in her chest until she felt her ribs ache. Then she screamed. A torrent of fire erupted from her mouth, blasting the shingles apart and hurling the wardens backward. Their armor smoked. Their spears clattered across the roof. Lyria stared at her own hands, horrified. "What is happening to me?" Inside her mind, the spirit whispered, "We are becoming what we were meant to be." She stumbled backward, nearly falling off the roof. Havrin raised his hand and shouted an order. "Bring the chains. By decree of the fire court, she is to be seized." People backed away from her as if she were a living explosion. Tears streaked paths through the soot on her face. She shook her head violently. "No, stay away." I don't want to hurt anyone. But every breath threatened to ignite. Cobwall grabbed her wrist. Lyria, run. Now. But. Run. She ran. Down the slanted roof. Over gutters slick with ash. Through alleyways lined with coal crates. Smoke curled behind her like a black banner. She didn't stop until she reached the edge of Bramble Hollow where the forest began. The wind shifted. Her breath glowed. And deep inside her chest, the spirit stirred again. You cannot outrun fire. You are mine now. Lyria collapsed among the roots, clutching her chest as her heartbeat flared like embers struck by a bellows. She screamed into the dirt. Get out of me. But the fire spirit only laughed. Far behind her, the fire wardens searched the rooftops and rubble, raising the alarm across the district. Find the girl, Havrin ordered grimly. Before her flames consumed the entire village. The forest grew darker around her. Her breath grew hotter. Sparks slipped from her lips, drifting upward like dying stars. The spirit whispered one final sentence. Your life ended when you breathed me in. A branch snapped in the undergrowth. Someone, or something, stepped closer. And then, the ground beneath Lyria split open, glowing with molten cracks, as a hand made of pure living fire erupted upward and seized her ankle. For more stories, like and subscribe.